Okay, guys, so we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I'll be your friendly shop steward today, because today we are going to be looking back on what was a year two. I mean, technically year 16 months, I guess, or the last 16 months of play, but we'll be looking back at year two of our Spires of Paridar campaign, which is celebrating, actually soon, it's a 2.5 year birthday. So if you have not grabbed one yet, be sure to grab a tasty beverage, get yourself relaxed, and we're going to look back on the year that was the second year in the Spires of Paridar. And with me tonight are the stars of the Spires of Paridar campaign. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing? First up, we've got Sean.
Hey, I'm playing Golag, son of Doc. He is a orc witch detective.
Very nice. Next up is James.
Right, I am Sally Dumer, the semi-aquatic detective who, depending on where and when, she's either Azarketi or an Undyne. So.
Yes. Next up is Ingolf.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Basil Rathbone, who is an Isoki investigator and very keen on killing other people, I suppose.
And last, but certainly not least, is Darren.
Yeah, I'm Darren. I'm playing Dr. Adam Ersprung, who is a created flesh warp. He's got his trusty sidekick Igor, and he's not into killing people. He's trying to keep people alive generally.
The good thing is they both keep each other in business, so that is a smart business strategy of the feedback loop, or self-feeding feedback loop. So at the time of recording, it is just at the end of April 2024. For those who may not be familiar with the Spires of Paridar campaign, this was kicked off 2 Christmases ago. We had 3 Christmases ago now, actually. Right? 3. Last year was a couple of games. The year before that was Blackbirds. The year before that was Paridar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
22 to 23, 23 to 24. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. So then, because January or December will be the 3rd year anniversary of this? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We started with Mo.
Whew, math is hard. So, so we kicked this campaign off initially as a way of, I found that I wasn't able to travel, and I'm telling him she wants to share the story as well. We weren't able to go back to home for Christmas because of COVID at the time, and I ended up just opening up a bunch of spots for sessions and saying to anyone who likewise is, hey, honey, come here. Anna, we're trying to tell the story. I know. We played a bunch of sessions at Paridar over the course of that. It was a session or setting that I created for the purpose of those sessions, and then we just kept on playing. Over the last 16 months, I see that our last year in review was also a little later into the spring, but I'm going to cover the year of 2023 and this one as well, because we actually have played some pretty long mysteries during this. If you're not familiar with the campaign, all of our adventures are generally organized or arranged as mysteries with different names, and then we play through those mysteries. Sometimes there is a break in between, an intermezzo, and then we carry on with the next mystery. In the past 16 months, we have finished up playing the Patchwork Pauper, which was a 9-part mystery. We then played a Savage Worlds war story with Basil, featuring his adventures during the time of the war. We had 1 intermezzo session, and then we launched into A Quiet Village by the Sea, which was a 12-part mystery that took 6 months to play through. And then we played a war story with not just set in the same setting, different versions of the characters using Starfinder, the science fantasy RPG called Plagues of Xenades. We called that the Stars of Paridar. That took us 6 sessions to play through that mystery. And you guys managed to, as you always do, uncover and deal with the baddies in that as well. Currently, our Illuminators are 7th level. Is that right, guys? In Pathfinder 2?
Just leveled up.
Just leveled up. And so we have, in the last time we did our review, there was a lot more mysteries to talk about. But before we start talking about the individual mysteries or the war stories in detail, do you guys have any starting comments about where we find ourselves now and what has happened to your Illuminators over these past 16 months? Hold on, guys, not all at once. Only one of you can speak at a time. Just, you know.
Yeah. I was just waiting. All of us were waiting for the
Everyone is conscientious players, so.
No, you go. No. You go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, basically, the mysteries deepened in a way. I mean, we got to know the city a little bit better, or what mysteries are there in the city. And yeah, it seems like there are at least 2 or 3 major catastrophes on their way to be stopped. So that's reassuring.
That you'll be employed.
To do.
Probably not for the people doing it, because Basil goes around murdering everyone.
No, I didn't. Just now I didn't murder anyone.
Restraint.
Yet. So I don't know if anyone got this. So in the last session we played in Paridar, Basil was just considering whether the prophecy involving Sally Dumer would still happen if she was dead. I mean, that's a thing to consider.
Yeah, the last 2 sessions, the last 2 mysteries we played over the past little bit really took involved closer looks at the history and the sort of backstory of Dr. Ursprung and Ms. Dumer.
And Ms. Dumer's thinking that the rat better not say the things out loud that he's thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I want to say the last time I played Paridar, I mean, maybe everyone, was November. Is that right?
Yeah.
Last.
Yep.
No, we did play one session, the final session of the Quiet Village by the Sea was in January.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, we finished.
Okay.
We played a couple of like pickup sessions over the holidays, just because we didn't have quorum and whatnot, and it was coming to the final session. So we played some other stuff, and then we came back to Paridar in January, and then we launched the war story almost immediately afterwards.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I have January 21st, I played the in the Stars of Paridar.
Oh, okay. Maybe you missed that session, Sean, because I think you're often traveling like into the first week or so of the new year.
It's possible. I maybe I'm forgetting it too. I'd be like I didn't write it down or something. It's possible. Always possible.
I have memories of Golag being stuck in a bubble.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was there for that.
Yeah. That was the penultimate session of...
That was the penultimate one. Okay.
Yeah, because it was after that you guys... I'm trying to remember what... I actually don't remember offhand how that... what specifically happened. I know that things did not go well for that... for Dag on the Sea.
So it was the bad guy on the stairs. So we were in the big room, and I can't remember his name. I can look it up, but it was a villain.
Yeah.
The priest. It was the priest. That's who it was.
I remember that a certain aquatic detective did not really translate what the other one had said, so that some town folks died a horrific death. But maybe I'm misremembering that.
There's a lot of folks who died to the the sea devils. Yeah.
She was okay with that, given that the Night Riders has been busy experimenting on her people. So she was pretty much all accessories after the fact were going to get it in the neck. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the length, it wasn't by intent to write longer mysteries for this, but I mean the pace that we tend to play this campaign is a more we take our sweet time. We enjoy the atmosphere of the investigation, and the characters certainly enjoy each other's company throughout the session, or these sessions as well too. So I think there was a little bit more to uncover with A Quiet Village by the Sea, but as with the other ones too, I don't feel like there was time spent where you guys were like, you didn't make progress in the investigation.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I think we worked out what was going on, but we couldn't really get any evidence or anything conclusive to start with to actually do something about it. So we had all the parts, but we couldn't really pin it on anywhere, or we didn't want to go in all guns blazing, but ended up doing that, I think, really, to be honest. But
apart from the fact everybody's dead, so it's one of those things that hang on and let God figure it out. But
yeah, so I think we made a deal with the devils. That's okay. And I mean, like now, my character at least is really. He's thinking that the world is about to end if we don't really do something here. And so it seems more or less appropriate to get any help that is available. And so that kind of worked out. But then we were poisoned in the middle of the session, and there was someone very eager about visiting a spa, and then there was something about someone's car. So we had a little bit of sidetracking in this.
Are you referring to Goleg's carriage?
Yeah.
His jalopy, yes.
Yeah. It was a very, very much a question where to park this one and so on.
Was this our first adventure where Igor wasn't destroyed?
Was it the first one? It might have been the second one, but yeah, we're on version 5, I believe, 4 or 5. I have just leveled him up, so he's a bit tougher now. That's
good.
That's his new ability, durability. But yeah, I've got through a few. I thought it was quite nice. I mean, I love Paridar, but it was quite nice to visit another town as well, to come out of the city, because I think that's the first time we've done little train rides and people throwing people off of trains and such, but we haven't been out for a long time, so I think that was quite nice to visit somewhere different, away from the city. So that was a bit of a change as well.
They weren't thrown off a train. They merely had a small accident.
Memory fails me, obviously.
So one of go ahead, Ingo. Sorry.
No, I was just saying this. I mean, this felt very much Cthulhu-esque, and I think it was supposed to feel like this. But the ending was like, I mean, I guess you never expected us to finish it this way. It was kind of weird, and it worked out well. I suppose.
One of the things with these ones too, I tend not to like. I have an idea of what's happened, but I don't know how you're gonna get to the end of it. So things, I've said before on the channel, like what I want on my tombstone is I'd rather be lucky than smart, because you just. You let the investigation play out, and you'll find a way to have a satisfying resolution for it. especially with playing with all GMs as well. Everyone has that same kind of story sensibility to wanting to make sense of whatever is happening, and it tends to work itself out. I did have to be honest, going into this one, I mentioned before that one of the things that has informed this campaign in general is that I think when we first started running Paridar, maybe when we first, or maybe the time before, the year after, I had just finished rewatching the entire run of the Tom Baker Doctor Who, and in particular those like 3rd to 5th seasons of them are extremely gothic horror heavy, and I fucking love them. Like, they're some of my favorite things, and they're the ones I think that give the series that feeling of, so the Doctor and his companions show up, and then everybody dies, and the mystery ends, and then we go on to the next one. And that informs Paridar a lot in terms of like the outcomes of stuff. And with this one in particular, it felt very... This was, I think, our most like Doctor Who-esque, or Tom Baker Doctor Who-esque one, where you guys were going to some other place, finding a problem that was going on in the community, and then you're leaving with the town in a smoldering heap. I really don't know what if there would have been a better resolution. I trust that you guys would have, not better, but like a one that would have resolved in a more amicable way, but I just don't, I don't know what that would have been. I did not have an idea in mind. I wouldn't have, pushed you guys away from that resolution. I don't know what resolution that would have been other than like, we just cannot negotiate with these things. So...
Yeah.
Probably a good thing if you don't give us access to napalm at any point.
Yeah, I mean that's it's. You guys did get. I'm trying to remember. You didn't blow up the. Did you blow up the lab? I don't remember. The house burned
Did it
down.
burn? I want to say it burned. No.
Yeah, I think the house burned down.
Yeah, we burnt the house down.
Yeah. So there's that. So let's talk about the. First off, Sean, do you have anything you want to talk about the general, what do you call it? Events of the past year and 4 months.
Yeah, I from the last comments, yeah, it seems like the antagonists were too entrenched. It's hard to imagine dealing with the priest, of negotiating with the priest and the powers behind him. It just doesn't seem very likely. Who knows? But I think something particularly antagonistic was inevitable, strikes me. So just on that last subject. But yeah, let's see. In general, I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of good to a little field trip, a full field trip to on the road. We are going to have to remember to bill for the travel expenses. That's a different subject, though.
You did uncover, the outcome for the insurance company. It's not the outcome I think they wished it was, but
right,
there is that.
They've been hanging out there, so it's good to get a little closure. You can't let those cases just fester in there for too long. It was good. It was good to get that closed, get that file closed and ready for more. Absolutely.
We also have the milestone of James fighting his first dragon in an RPG.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was pretty cool on the ship, right? On the
laying down the better smack on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Golak had a pretty good. I remember had a pretty good moment with his. I think it's his number one. Yeah, with his number one, if I remember correctly. His current number one combat skill kind of maxed and had a good
his big spell made the difference, which was all the more noteworthy because of all the terrible rolls you had in that entire session leading up to that. It was
the attempt for tempt.
Yeah.
Yes, right. But it's coming. That regress. It's coming. And it did. So, yeah, that was good.
And one nice thing is that Paradar's starting to make Warhammer look positively cheerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, things are not looking, well, we'll see how things look when we return in 2 weeks. But So maybe let's talk about the specific adventures next then, unless you guys have anything further about the overall. The Patchwork Pauper saw some revelations as far as Dr. Ursprung's origins and his, could we call it a family tree?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. He's still got very mixed opinions on Dr. Raycroft, because he's got this mad sort of stepsister, whatever sister, telling him one thing, Dr. Raycroft telling him another. He's now got a smaller, younger brother.
Evie.
Yeah. So it's all been a bit overshadowed by Dagon the Sea, but it's still fresh in his mind. He still plays on him.
Yeah, I don't think he's spoken to Dr. Raycroft since the events of the Patchwork Pauper, has he?
Well, I did go and get because he was looking after
Adam
Auch.
Yeah, little Adam. So I think I took him back, but I don't know if I don't think we actually spoke. I think I just sort of took little Adam back and didn't actually speak to the doctor himself. I can't actually remember, but yeah, there's definitely some bad blood there of being lied to, or the full truth not coming out. I think I might have asked him actually. I think I did speak to him, but I didn't get to the bottom of it. I just wasn't sure he was telling me the truth. He was telling me that she was lying, and she was telling me that he was lying, and he just don't know what to make of it, because it did make sense that it could have been the Raycroft that potentially created Adam. So we found out who the sort of donors were, I guess, of Adam's intellect. So there was a couple of great men that sort of went towards helping him to become a good physician and engineer.
You met, I think, one of the family members as well, at least one of your donors.
Yeah, I think it was his son, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. 'Cause, so yeah, he's met sort of part of the family, but I don't think we let on why we was asking and all of that.
I mean, your eye was weeping the entire time, but I mean, apart from.
But I think we were rudely interrupted at that party again by some horrible creations.
Yep.
Near the end of the party. But yeah, that was a real eye-opener, and it's made it even harder for him to sleep at night, I think. He has enough troubles as it is. So he's keeping busier than ever to keep him distracted.
Well, and I think that adventure also saw you with a new partner in your clinic as well. In the...
oh, yeah.
I didn't grab a note, so I don't have the name.
Dr. Risewell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a bit of a rough time of it as well.
Yeah. Well, you guys have... The press has been somewhat unkind to Dr. Ursprung as well. After that attack and the attack at the warehouse, where you guys uncovered those golems. Yeah, there's that little halfling.
Little short halfling reporter. Kept trying to give the doctor a bad name.
I'm sure that's the last you've seen of him.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, but I'm not convinced.
We'll set Basil on him.
Yeah.
Really. I guess it's more likely that he's dead if he meets you, but yeah, whatever. There's another conflict in the making here.
What about the rest of our Illuminators? What do you guys recall, or what did you draw from the Patrick Popper mystery?
I mean, besides Adam's story, there's also
Jonathan,
yeah, and
character.
Oh, John's character. Yeah, John was able to briefly join us too. The playing that ragdoll.
Oh yeah.
Who attacked that bird?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we still don't know who the bird is or what.
Yeah, what if anything that has to do with the kelpie that you found in that pond, in the Popper's pond?
So,
Yeah, it's not obvious how a kelpie and a psychotic crow are related.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but we know that there's some kind of breach into another realm, so that's something we know. So
yeah, there's that busted plinth or spire that's at the bottom of the poverty pond, not Popper's pond.
Yeah, and there's also a little bit of backstory of Paridar we got to know via meeting all these people from the war we don't really know anything about, which is also suspicious. Mm-hmm. But because it's not like we as players don't know about it, but our characters even don't really know how this war started and why it ended and so on. So it's just kind of weird, like there is some kind of thought control going on, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys don't even know the name of the enemy nation, right?
Why it was some kind of hack. We uncovered that.
It was which?
Not a witch, but a hag.
Oh, yeah, nation. Yeah, there was because that's where Sally made a friend at an ambassador. You danced with him at the Dr. Ursprung's charity event.
Yeah, and I got from the war story also, it got some kind of Baba Yaga vibe to them. So it's just like some kind of I don't know, winter hack or whatever, some kind of that going on. But we don't know why this war stopped and what actually happened there. So that is something I'm interested in. Let me put it this way. That's something about the setting, and the Spires seem to be more than just a name for the city. They seem to have some importance as well, which is not clear to anyone. That's also interesting.
And the 9th Medical Corps, they're always up to no good. There's always something going on with them. They're always doing something in the background that's having an effect on the people of Paridar. Experimenting, whatever they're doing. They always seem to be loosely connected with all sorts of things.
Are you suggesting that our Dr. Green is up to no good?
Well, I haven't got evidence to say that yet, but her name comes up quite often. I think that they even got involved in the Blackwall ship.
Yeah,
sort of investigating the bodies.
Yeah, she worked with the medical examiner at the morgue to show you before you guys really, like, right when you started investigating that, you found that the desiccated remains of one of the Dark Tide Riders. She was the one who provided that to you.
Yeah, even when you think they're not involved, they seem to be involved. And
yeah, but I think she's misunderstood. I mean, she's not one of the evil ones. I'm pretty sure there.
Basil's sweet on her.
Well, I think Basil did first chat with her at the seance when you guys, the Eternal Order of the Endless Odyssey. When you guys were involved with that.
I think I met her even before when we were talking about this kind of vampiric children.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I met her there,
and then you met her again at the charity event, Dr. Ursprung's charity event.
Yeah, and then there was this kind of breakdown of Basil who just basically was overwhelmed because he thought that this would be a major ambush, and this didn't take place. And all the guns he stored in his head.
Yeah, he had a lot. Very heavily armed for a charity event. What about Golag? Did he draw anything from the Patchwork Popper mystery?
It was cool to involve Dr. Ursprung's and Jonathan's character. What's Jonathan's character's name? I can't remember it at the moment.
His character's name is
Hatch something, wasn't it?
Stitches.
He is Stitches. Yeah, he's a consulting detective currently.
Call. But to involve them, I thought that was cool to have their origin story be brought up, and a few villains along the way, and to see what Dr. Ursprung would think of it. You know, when it was completely undefined. It was pretty much completely undefined, right? When we started Paridar, I mean, there was no.
Dr. Ursprung knew nothing about his past. Yeah. He had no recollection of it. He knew that he was working. Dr. Raycroft had helped when his skill was identified, helped him to get the necessary certifications to work as a licensed engineer and physician. And then he fell more into the physician role afterwards, working with the poor, but we didn't know anything about him beyond that.
Yeah, always interesting to have something like that too, where you just find out during the game. What's up? So that was good. That was cool. Did that overlap with the Kelpie? Who were we after with the Kelpie?
Kelpie was Ill Tidings at the Poverty Pond from before. That one you were just trying to figure out why people were going missing.
Okay, that was just that was that where the husband had disappeared.
Yeah.
But it was pretty close in timing.
Yeah, I think Ill Tidings might have been before Patrick Popper. And I don't think there was anything in between the two, so that the one might have led into the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that Patrick Popper started with was it Dr. Ursprung who went, or was it Basil? I think Basil might have found Adam Alk first.
Yeah, it was. And there's always this connection, because I did not find him. I was explicitly told where he is by my dear arch nemesis, and the network that should not be spoken about.
Yeah. Which of course doesn't exist. The Whisker Network.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. I'm trying to find. I don't think I have an illustration for him yet. Yeah, because I don't have a handout for him yet.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's this Moriarty type character. Who he really is interesting, and why he knows so much about the city, while not being one of the obvious power players, is interesting. And it seems that is somehow Basil's task to find out more about this.
So the next one we played, and I think I'm trying. Who else played in? I should have looked actually, but who else played in the Savage Worlds war story? James did. Right? Was that the first time you played Savage Worlds?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a literal war story set during the war, when Basil was I think a private in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Apart from
I was in a session or two of that. Was I?
That only played one. That was only one session. I should actually take a look here.
I want to say I was in it, but you know what?
Yeah. No, I wasn't in it either. It was
Yeah, there was 3 of us. So.
Was there 3? Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think I was there.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I didn't play. It was in April, that one.
Okay.
So a year ago. Interesting.
Oh wow, so it's that long. Yeah, honestly, like I thought that it was the year before, for sure, when I was like going back to look over the all the sessions from the past however many months or past year and whatever. In my memory, it was the year before, but that was only a year ago. So I mean, it was interesting seeing. That was, I mean, very much a more, we got some sense of what the war was like for the characters, but it was very much a wartime adventure. Did you guys have a tank?
We had a tank at the end.
Yeah. Anything that you recall drawing from that adventure?
How did it finish? I can't quite recall. How did the session?
We were driving around in circles in the tank trying to blow things up. We were getting attacked and running things over and firing guns left, right, and centre.
But if you have a tank, that's what you do. I mean,
actually, we were doing pretty well, I suppose. The train we were in was derailed, and we basically managed to get out alive and mix up the enemy. So that's...
Yep. No, it was a successful outcome for a mission that had started going sideways, from the get-go. I don't even remember what characters you guys played. It's been so long. I know Basil was playing Basil.
Yes.
But yeah, that was.
I don't think I played Golag. I played.
No,
did I?
No,
because he wouldn't have. That wouldn't have made sense for him. So I don't remember who I played, to be honest, right this second.
Yeah, I'm just trying to scroll through to it here.
Yeah, it would never occur to someone, if there's a war to be fought, that the children of the rich people were not in it.
Yeah,
it's a violation. It's a violation.
Total fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. So yeah, Sean, you played the engineer, a dwarvish engineer, and James, I think. Tell me if this is a little out of your wheelhouse here, but I think you played a elvish sniper woman. So
yes, I was an officer, if I remember rightly.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, you guys fought like werewolves and. That was a rough time for you guys.
Oh, and that would have been. I have written down that would have been the finale of the patchwork. So, and Darren was gone, and that was the. That's why we triggered into it.
Yeah. That was So then I think that also gives us an opportunity to give you a sense of what the adversaries were like during the war.
Yep.
And fun playing, Savage Worlds too.
Yeah.
I do love that system. So then the next thing we led into was the Quiet Village by the Sea, which is again our most Tom Baker Doctor Who episode we've had thus far. What do you guys recall? I guess what are some of the moments that from that 12 session mystery that stand out for you?
I thought so when we were in the church, a little bit early on in the investigation, I thought that was particularly meaningful. I mean, it obviously is the headquarters. We were pretty sure the priest was no bueno, and so getting to his headquarters, we knew it was a big deal in the moment. Mm-hmm. He wasn't there, but then, I mean, I think possibly the biggest moment of that scene was when the Sea Devils?
Yeah.
Am I? When the Sea Devils had peculiar behavior around the bad guys' headquarters, like that was insightful. It wasn't like it revealed all by any stretch, but it wasn't. It was peculiar enough that like there was more going on than meets the eye. It wasn't A plus B equals C. It wasn't priest plus Sea Devils, bad guys, okay, cool. Like, we got this, this kind of thing. They had, like, looked, but then they went away. Like, it was a little weird. It wasn't like they belonged there, So it gave us, like, oh, wait a minute. There's something else here. So that sticks out in my mind as a bit of an inflection point to tell us there was another layer. Mm-hmm. We may have 3 parties, not 2. Or, 3 sides, not just parties, but sides.
Yeah.
So that's that comes to mind. And you found something. You found we found something, didn't we? We found something noteworthy there.
Yes.
What was it?
There was an amulet that was incriminating for the priest.
amulet.
But that's I'm glad to hear that came across that way, because that was one of the things I wanted to do with that one was I didn't want to put too fine a point on the fact that there were more than, there were more parties at play than just like, well, we need to find the one bad guy and then deal with them, because that's how it's been in most of the other mysteries we've had so far. I wanted there to be that, but I really wanted it to be something you came across in the setting, rather than something that was like, and then you saw so-and-so talking to so-and-so and it was obvious what was going on. It was very cool from my side of the screen to see you guys put together like, wait a minute. There might be more going on here than we assume. Yep.
And 6 months later, we figured it out.
There was a lot of people to talk to in that, and there was a lot and if you're going to properly role play through stuff too, like you guys like interacting with NPCs, and I love making stupid voices, so there was a lot of fun to be had in that whole mystery, because there was a lot of people to talk to and a lot of things to figure out and get a sense of where what the different players were.
Yeah, we spent, I think, in total 3 sessions interacting with our innkeeper in a way and trying to sneak out and all this stuff. And I mean, it was so great. And then we were, at least my character was poisoned, and so that everything came together in a way. That was very, very a neat, as they say, tavern style gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting quite annoyed at how friendly everyone was. That was really starting to bug the Doctor, because he's used to being put down and people looking down on him and stuff, and it was starting to really grind his gears to the point where he had to get Igor to knock someone over and check that he didn't have something attached to their heads like permanently, and everyone was just going around with Tide Riders on them, because everyone's good morning. It just it's got sickening.
I think it's a really proud tradition of English country horror, where you never want to visit a small town because they're all full of terrifying fucking people. Yeah. My inspiration was directly from Doctor Who, but I think that that was drawing from that body of tradition of like people in the country are fucking up and stuff. Don't trust them. Yeah. What about you, Ms. Dumer?
Yeah. Well, it was nice to get in the water for once.
Yeah.
It was a nice change. And the scary things underneath.
Yeah.
I was strangely bothered by the conversion of my people into zombies.
Yeah. That's the first time we've seen on screen the other members of the Azraketi, species, and none of them were alive anymore.
Yeah, Basil robbed me of ultimate vengeance as well at the end.
What? Why?
The two of us were scrambling to get at the big bad.
Yeah, just
a controversy we didn't even know about. It's brewing right here. Let's get it out.
No, actually, I think Basil did kill Steele, I think, a lot of times. Because, I mean, this character has some kind of a punch. So if he really hits, then there will be a lot of damage. And this works out. I mean, I can't do 4 attacks each round, but only 1. But then hits, yeah.
We call that a full Dumer. Still.
Yeah.
I do remember it getting quite tense at the end, though, with the big guy. I think even like Adam had to swing in there and land a blow, which is not normally his style. I think I think going down left, right.
Yeah, that one, the force bubble as well, was just it's tough. It's instructive of that. If you read the if you, as it were, on a meta level, read the encounter incorrectly, then, because I don't think that Golag was really making a lot of effort to try and break out of the bubble. and you just weren't doing enough damage to progress that along to try and break out of that thing, and it effectively brought Golag out of the fight completely.
It was outrageous.
Yeah, I'm going to be filing a complaint to the.
It's unacceptable.
Well, it seems that their suggestion box has burned down now, so perhaps.
Yeah. We'll get on it.
But yeah, it was
And I thought
it was close.
Yeah. And I'll say go ahead.
No, I think, but this was also great. I mean, it was not maybe great for you, Sean, but I think in general the situation was great. I mean,
So Basil enjoyed Golag being in the bubble.
No. But so I, as player, as Ingo.
What's that, Basil? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to maybe write it down. And you don't have a pen. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We know that you don't like your waistcoat getting mussed up, so it all sort of worked out.
Who does? Who?
Sorry, Ingo, if I interrupted you.
No. I was just thinking. So I mean, it was close. It was close on the ship where we fought the dragons, and it was close a number of times. Somehow, I mean, with the Kelpie also, but I think it's just fun that we somehow managed to survive all of that, and we managed to win in some way. I mean, okay, everyone is dead, but at least it's not spreading. So let's go for the positives here.
You know, on that point, it's interesting because I was I've had a lot of unkind things to say about Pathfinder 2's suitability for the Kingmaker campaign or for the for sandbox style games. Because whatever, like I don't know, repeat my criticisms of it here, but for these kinds of things where it is a scripted encounter, I think it does an excellent job of giving the GM exactly what you need to set the scale of difficulty you want, whether that's kind of a, low stakes, kind of keeping you busy, but there is a sense of peril, encounter, or something that's a real, like, set piece encounter, like the fight on the ship was, or the boss encounter, or like with the final encounter with the priest was. It's the underlying math from it is outstanding for structuring that kind of story first encounter. I don't think it does as good of a job in the random encounter stuff, but that's not ever something we're going to be doing in this campaign, right? So I think as far as the combat system is concerned, it really does give that fun, tense, feeling, but fair. And I have yet to have to fudge anything in our combat encounters with this campaign. So I think it's a credit to for whatever unkind things I've had to say about the system in the Kingmaker game. I think for this particular game, still doing a great fucking job.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
I think Sean is saying something, but we can't hear him.
Oh, toast to Mo.
Toast to Mo.
Very kind. An excuse. What were you saying, Sean?
Speaking of the Pathfinder system, I'm trying to remember what I've done with my because James earlier mentioned about leveling up, and it's been a while, so I'm like, oof, gotta hit the notes.
Yeah. So are you saying like we're hit the ground running with our next mystery with you guys in the middle of a big, high stakes boss encounter? That sounds perfect. Nothing like learning under pressure. There are some in Paridar who would thoroughly agree with that sentiment.
Seriously, well, I'll be delighted with whatever. I think I did finish, so that's good. That's good news.
I think you did. Because I think you did post it that you had done that. Yeah, because what I do need to do is if you could repost in the Discord what your summoning list is, I can get that done before our next session too. Because I can see I've got one of your critters in here. That was a pain in the ass to do in this Starfinder one, is because I'd have to create the actual character sheets for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've got, so for example, I got two that are completely unrecognizable, so obviously they're new, is Rouse Skeletons. So it's a where skeletons come up out of the floor and they actually follow you around. So it's a little it's an interesting in a space.
Yep.
They'll move with the bad guys. That's an intriguing choice by me.
Nice.
When I was doing it, and then fly. We have a flying Golag now.
Fly spell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys are in the big leagues now. That's something I
Big
don't really.
leagues.
We're in the moderate leagues, I guess.
Yeah.
The access to a new tier of magic. Have you played like a spellcaster in a class-based, D&D style campaign before, Sean?
Man. So undoubtedly I have, but it's a matter of how long. Like I'm sure I have, just with all the promiscuous gaming I've done. That I'm sure that I.
Fabulous way of phrasing that.
Yeah. So I'm sure I have, but as far as like leveling up a bunch of times, that is highly questionable. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I've to gone from 1 to 7. Boy, that's got to be rare. I mean, if I've done it before, this is like the second time. Well,
the reason I ask is because one of the interesting things with the level-based, like the D&D style things, is that every odd level you hit, you get access to a new tier of spells, and there's often that is one of the ways you can sort of gauge what's changed about the campaign, is because when the higher you get in levels, you start accessing game, like you said, like fly. First time you get fireball is 3rd level in most of these games, and that changes the game because the spellcaster, you have ways of affecting more than one target with some spells, but fireball is a real big fucking deal, Yeah. And then 5 is I think 5 is fly in most other ones, and then 7 is Dimension Door maybe. But anyway, there's other spells that you get, like teleport is a spell that you get at level 9, I think, typically in these games. So it opens up new abilities that the characters can have to be able to interact with the world in ways that a lot of the other classes, there isn't that same transformative thing. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting for you to see how you feel the characters changing as you're getting access to those more substantive, boy, we can really do more shit now, spells.
Yeah. And the forever structure in Pathfinder where no matter how high you get, every level only has 3, what was it? I'm spacing on the structure now, but there's traffic jams at every level for your spell, for your what are you going to take?
Yeah.
3 to prepare what 3 spells? That's what I'm trying to say. So no matter, it's not like you get to 7th level and you now you have 8 spell slots at 2nd level, so you don't have to choose anymore. Really, you just throw them all in there. No, that's never the case.
Yeah.
Your 20th level, everything still has 3. It's you go up, but you don't go wide. So it's still a really tough. You go, what am I going to take at this, and what am I going to take at that? So it's always got that. It's an interesting choice. It's fun. But it's a little bit, you're like, oh man, I'd give, what I wouldn't give for 2 more slots at, at 4th or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The advantages of not being a spellcaster. Do you punch it, or do you punch it hard?
There you go. Yeah.
What about the other?
You can trip it also.
Nah, just punch it.
What about the other, the more unusual, the investigator and the inventor are more, unconventional classes? Are you guys finding that you're seeing similar things as you're gaining these levels? That the game, as it were, is changing as you gain access to new things?
I'd say with the investigator, if we were playing not this campaign but a different one, this would be a bad character to choose because, yes, it is a striker, but right now my feats level is I have the ability to get some kind of bibliographical information about a person by talking to them. You see that guy is from this part of the region and so on. That is not such a cool feat in a different campaign, but in this campaign it might actually be helpful. So,
as a private investigator.
Yeah. So then it's cool. Yes, I know my strategic strike just got a +2 on every hit. So that means I'm doing more damage. That's okay. So that is something I enjoy, and the other ones are I have vigilant senses, which means my proficiency rank in perception increases, and I chose as a general feat, I chose trick magic item, which I find in a way hilarious. So you have this thing where you use a magic item that is not supported by your class.
Oh, okay. That's very cool.
Because you trick it, you pretend that you know how to use it, and then the magic item doesn't realize, and you can, if luck wants, you can actually use it. And I think that's fitting. Somehow Basil knows how to think, to operate this.
Nice. Well, what about the adventure?
Yeah, I mean, you can play it in different ways from my my viewpoint. You can either sort of focus on your character, because it's sort of armor can get better and do all sorts of special things and reduce damage and things, or you can work more on your invention, which is the route I've gone down more. So I'm making Igor sort of tougher and more usable, more advanced, and I'm taking a lot more of the medical sort of skills from feats and things. I mean, I've just got thorough search, which is not medical, obviously, but just helps him for searching. If he takes twice as long, he gets a bonus for searching for things, because we're doing a lot of investigating, and he does a lot of rooting about, so that seemed appropriate. But yeah, for combat, he specializes more with Igor, and then for himself, he's more of a skills man and a medic, and only resorts to violence in those desperate situations normally, or if Igor's gone down. So yeah, I think you can play it in quite a few ways. It does seem quite a flexible character. I think it's quite a good character for people to try if they haven't tried him.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I think it's one of the more complex classes that's on offer from Pathfinder 2, and this was your first Pathfinder 2 character, right?
Yeah, there is quite a lot of options, like I say. You know, there's quite a lot of moving parts potentially. You haven't got the magic, which, you know, some games can be quite overwhelming with the lists of all the different spells available and stuff. But yeah, there is a lot of options, and you're sort of playing two characters at once, sort of.
Yeah.
In a way. But yeah, I get used to it, and yeah, I enjoy it. I like that, because I can play my character, and then if it does come into a situation where there's combat, then yeah, Igor sort of takes over, and I'm just looking for patching up the holes where they appear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it.
Was it during Patchwork Popper that you were attacked and caught separate from Igor? Or there was those cultists, the leftover cultists attacked, and I thought that...
No, that was when the clinic was getting set up, I think.
Yeah, was that during... Well, maybe that was during Poverty Pond. Because that was after Endless Odyssey.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Yeah, he got set upon with the thugs in the church. Well, was it a church originally? Yeah,
because that was the mission, Barrowhead mission.
Yeah. And turned into the clinic, yeah. Yeah, that was another dodgy moment for the Doctor. Getting set about.
And James, was this your first Pathfinder 2 character as well? Or had you played...
No, I think probably must have been. I remember you did a one-shot for me in Japan.
Oh, yeah, right, with Yumi and Sean.
Yeah. But I think this is the first long-term character for sure. But
yeah, that was probably my first Pathfinder too, I want to say. That samurai scene.
Yeah, I think it was shortly after it came out as well. Like, there was barely anything out for the game at that point. Not
I'm
like
trying
now.
To think what game we had missing players, right?
Yeah, that would have been maybe The Witcher, or maybe it wouldn't have been Legend of the Five Rings, because we would have played that otherwise. But I can't remember what other ones it might have been.
It was Star Trek.
Oh, really?
It was Star Trek. Yeah, it was Star Trek in August 2019.
Wow.
And we were
That's
playing.
because I never played Star Trek.
We were playing Star Trek. The first time I played Star Trek Adventures was 1 month prior, in July 2019, with Arlen, James, and Jeff, and you, of course.
Yeah, we played the starter set.
Yeah, and so it was
yes.
part of that, and then we had too many players missing, so we did the Pathfinder Samurai thing, which is James and I.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Good grief.
Well, we were talking.
Wow.
Like, we're coming up in September. It'll be 9 years that the channel has been active.
That's crazy.
And as Terrence's brother says, Edinburgh 2025.
Yeah,
That's right.
Thought about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should call it Muserfest and then meet up.
Exactly, Muserfest in Edinburgh, August 2025. That is the soft date for our 10-year anniversary meetup. We joked about this before, but I think that Scotland is we've determined it tied with Canada in terms of people with the most connections with that country. So, yeah, we got we definitely have a lot of Americans playing as well, and we have a lot of English players. But the one place that has the most common connections of everybody is Canada and Scotland. Yeah. But the any event, so that was it. But this is your first ongoing character. How is this your first time playing in a level-based game for this long too?
Yeah, must be, yeah, because I don't normally, typically haven't played it.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's good. I enjoy it. I like the Pathfinder thing works very well, as you say. At least I agreed that it was a bit odd sometimes in Kingmaker, but in this it works very well. The fights are good and tight. You've got characters who can do more than one thing. Because I like the fact that she can smack things, but she's also sneaky and athletic and can talk.
Yeah.
I mean, she's good at diplomacy. So that is, you feel that you've got a character who can do more than one thing, which some games you can become a bit of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And I know I'm trying to keep it that way, but the system does facilitate that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also games where you are a no-trick pony. That can also be.
Yeah, that's next weekend.
Yeah, it's the game itself. I'm really looking forward to getting back to the PF2. We'll talk about the Starfinder one in a moment here, but I'm looking forward to getting back to Pathfinder 2 with this campaign to get my in the last year we played Kingmaker, which I wasn't crazy about how that game handled that particular campaign. Nothing to do with the players or the story or anything like that. It's just that it was, I thought, a poor, for what we were doing with the Kingmaker, it was a poor fitting for the system. And then there was the release of the remasters, or whatever they're called, editions too. So there was a good 6-month period where Pathfinder 2 wasn't releasing stuff other than what kind of felt, I think they were fantastic books, but they do really feel like re-releases of old stuff. I wasn't getting a lot of new content from it, and now we're past that, and we're starting to see some new stuff like the Tanxia books come in, and there's going to be a new player book coming out. There's a player book 2, which will update all the classes you guys play, and then there's going to be a new book that's introducing some more militaristic stuff, I think, because we're getting that tanky character, and we're getting a Pathfinder 2 version of a warlord. So that might be looking forward a fun way of revisiting some of the war story stuff, but still in the Pathfinder 2 context.
Mm-hmm.
And they will do the kind of mythic level play.
Well. Which that's probably not going to see a lot of play at the table for this particular campaign, but couldn't
we ascend?
Well, it could be is that in keeping with the sort of Victorian London vibe here. I think there's certainly an opportunity to see, some elements of if there was, say, a Paridar world exposition type thing, there might be a fun way of incorporating some of that Tantia stuff or the Impossible Lands stuff where there's some really more unusual elements. So
did you see Golag in those portraits? I mean, it's almost like he already ascended.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. So I think everyone has one persisting question or mystery about their character, independent of the actual campaign. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Golag is going to destroy the world as a barbarian conqueror. Sally is going to destroy the world as the harbinger of the grudge butcher. Or whatever it's called. I don't have my notes in front of me. Basil is going to usurp and become the head of a network that clearly doesn't exist. And Dr. Earthsprung is going to, kidnap and create an army of flesh-warped allies to take over Paridar. So, there's something to be said for setting your campaign up with the players playing the villains as heroes to start. That is actually something... Oh, I was going to say that's one of the things that was informing when I made it the pre-gens for this that Christmas session. I intentionally picked classes and races or ancestries that we hadn't seen before. The things that were weird or unusual that had not been seen, that I didn't see anyone play yet. What were you going to say, James?
No, I was just going to say, because Sally on the whole is my favorite character in all of the different games. I mean, she's up there with one of the two favorite ones I've played on the channel. So,
what's the second one?
Out of The Witcher.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. Ah, man, that game. Oh,
yeah, that was a good one. I enjoyed The Witcher.
Yeah, the mechanics aren't so great, but the game was great.
The game was great, and great players too for that one too, because it was. You two and Robert and Will, right? That was that. We had 4 players.
I mean, you say the mechanics aren't great, but it is still fun to watch. I mean, there are games with. I mean, Shadowrun maybe is a game where the mechanics aren't so much fun to watch, I suppose. But I think The Witcher was kind of. I liked watching that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
It was a good. I think I like those. I mean, besides just being able to play The Witcher, a Witcher, which was cool. I do like. I think I have an appreciation for warriors that have a little magic. I think that The Witcher's profile was fun to play. I like the where you have it's not overpowering magic, but it facilitates the warrior functions, and so it gives you things to think about. And The Witcher's just right there in that space, right smack dab in that profile. Witchers, yeah.
I don't mean to disrupt the things. Do you hear something? 2 on your end? Because no, you don't hear that? It sounds like it's an excuse to talk about the Elder Scrolls role-playing game again?
Oh!
The reason I mentioned that
is
because a lot of the things I think that I initially thought were going to be interesting about the Witcher game are things that I think I'm going to be seeing in because we're now kicking off next Friday a sandbox Elder Scrolls game, and that RPG, I think the combat is better than what it was in because if you weren't the Witcher, you were fucked. in Robert's character got shot in the head I don't know how many times because he was playing the doctor, and the rules didn't really provide clear ways for every character type to kind of have their narrative space. So when you had a sorcerer who could heal people, there was really no need for a doctor at all. And the only other thing that made that character interesting was that he was dabbling in alchemy, and the mechanics in that just weren't great for how to clearly gamify that stuff. So that character didn't have a lot of space to shine when he really should have, because it's an interesting character type. But the Elder Scrolls RPG, I think, does with a more clear crafting and things, which are all stolen from the video game. All that stuff is going to, I think, play a lot better in an ongoing game, and I'm not going to have to figure out how to fudge stuff as much. And the reason I justify talking about The Witcher is because there's a lot of those character concepts that you're talking about, Sean, and the adaptation of some interesting video game ideas to a role-playing game. That's something I'm going to really look forward to seeing, how players interact with that stuff when it's a little more... It is clear how you collect stuff, how you can, craft stuff from it, and the clear benefit you get from some of that activity. That stuff I think is going to be really great. And actually, the Fallout game also has some really cool stuff from that. I could see how it could be very fussy. For not every player is going to want to engage with a lot of that stuff, but the Fallout RPG from Modiphius looks like it's got just some really fun ways of incorporating what you do in that game too, of like rooting around and scrapping and whatnot. I think The Witcher, to a degree, was trying to incorporate some of that stuff, but I don't think it was a very successful implementation. So that's my obligatory Elder Scrolls digression, guys. So
maybe I need to resurrect my character from that in Elder Scrolls, from Witcher in Elder Scrolls.
You can play a pretty cool, sneaky character in that, but you also the other alternative is to resurrect that character concept in Warhammer Fantasy. Because
all right,
yeah, because that game is pretty awesome as well. So before we got to take our mid-session break in a moment here, but any last thoughts on Quiet Village by the Sea? Do you care? Oh, go ahead and go.
No, I was just to Darren's point from a while back. I think that village was positively irritating.
You see, so that's why I burnt it to the ground.
There you go.
I think
it's
Sally,
a favor to you guys.
Yeah, Sally just admitted the mens rea component of that. Of that, so
yeah, it's being recorded. It's been recorded.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we take our mid-session break right now, and then we'll come back and talk about our Starfinder war story. So, for those listening at home, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
But so, Shawnee, are you still running the Coriolis game you were running?
Wrapped it up last session, so yeah, it was good. Had a good time. Showed signs of first attempt at it. That things I would change the way I did it, but I liked it. I didn't end up backing the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that whole kind of fake feeling of do it now or never, and of course it's not never. I think I'll probably own it. I didn't feel compelled to get it right away. Wait till it goes on sale at some point later. Too many games. I won't have. I will have tons of games left over in the to run list now and in 2 years from now. So there's no rush. I'll get it when it's.
Which is this?
Coriolis.
Yeah, Golf had asked me about the Coriolis I've been running, and I told him that I'd wrapped it. It was wrapped it up last session, so
nice.
All done. Yeah.
And is that like a must get back to the table one, or is it let it percolate one?
I think. I mean, the bar is pretty high to get it back to the table, just because there's too many games. If there weren't so many damn games, sure. But you got to bust through all the other ones, trying to, in the list that I want to try out. So I think it'll be a while. But it was fun. I mean, I like the universe. I think there's a lot to be said for it, both setting and system wise. I think I kind of like the crunch location that Coriolis occupies. On the one hand, all you need is a 6. So it's got that fundamental simplicity, but it's got a decent amount of crunch on there too, where you always have, like in combat, you almost always have options for extra 6s. So you don't always have options, but if you get extra 6s, there's a list that you can pick off of things to do. It's not too bad. It's not too long, so it gives a little extra something for your strat. Oh, and the fact that you get points, like Pathfinder, you get action points. So it gives the players something to think about, like how do you want to spend your points, and you got options there, just like in Pathfinder. It's not too complicated. It's enough though to keep the players engaged, to have to continually think of how you want to spend your points.
I've really come around to a lot of the games. I'm thinking of the ones that I have had really interesting, tactical, rules. Are the ones that have those kind of flexible action point or like action economy. This Pathfinder 2, I think, does a really good job with it too. Blackbird, Spyhander, Flames of Freedom, Elder Scrolls, and Shadowrun. We ran Shadowrun 6th yesterday, and that's one thing in particular that really stood out was the action economy of having major actions and minor actions. I thought going in, I'm like, man, this is going to take for fucking ever for people to make up their minds. It was really snappy. And felt tense, like it, I think it makes it a meaningful choice when you get to the end of your turn. You're like, God, I wish I could do one more thing, like talking is a minor action. So if you're racing around and doing shit, you may not get a word off,
right?
And that was really cool.
That was really great because we couldn't see where the enemy was, and so you needed to spend that action to talk, but then you would have been shot, so you didn't.
It was it's really cool because the in that one in particular, like it required 3 of them to try and. One character was trying to draw a shot from a sniper drone, while the other one was trying to keep an eye out for where it was, and the third one was going to shoot the thing down. And it just, you can plan mechanics to encourage that kind of teamwork, but it's so cool to see that the action economy just facilitated that kind of play anyway.
I could be wrong about this, but I want to say if we kept playing, we might have emphasized this. I think you get 3 words for free. I think I want to say, I could be wrong. I want to say that you can like let out a word, but if you want a statement, if you want a sentence, my good man, costs you a minor action. So you got to figure out. You think I'm wrong about that?
No, I just think it's a moot point for you because your characters are always quite wordy. So.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying though that the funny part would be I'd want to be wordy, and then you got to get that down to those 3 words.
Yeah.
Which the one time with Ingolf's character I did, and I did it just because when I said I think I said one more time. So it was a little bit.
Yeah.
One more time. What?
Yeah. The confusion.
What are we talking about?
Fog of war was really good. Yeah.
Right.
Which is say like I like that is something I agree. Like I really like that when characters have decisions of how they're going to make use of that time, it makes it really. I think that's a real strength to adding some interesting decisions that characters are making on a round by round basis. That without having to introduce like special powers or whatever else. It's just a really cool thing. I think there was something else we ran recently that had that as well, or a degree of that. I just don't remember what it was. Yeah.
I will buy you a moment to see if you can think of it, because I was going to say just one more comment about Coriolis, and that is the that one more level of action points, which is it requires action points to defend yourself. So you've got to debate on whether to leave an action point laying around in case you get attacked, which is that's one extra little level of, for people to go, oh, should I do this or should I, it's
something I really love about the combat in Elder Scrolls as well, is that like that decision making of whether you're going to keep that last point or a couple of points back for counterattacks or defenses. So fucking cool. Which is also informed sometimes by your choice of weapon, right? Like in that game, there's certain weapons that are they're the way they model the like dog shit nature of parrying with an axe is that they take a penalty to some of those reactions like counterattack and whatnot. So what it encourages is if you're going to have that point, I might as well go, balls out and try and take these guys down with attacks as opposed to trying to wait and defend, because I'm not really good at that with this weapon. Whereas there's other weapons that do facilitate that kind of reactive, style of combat.
Yeah.
All right, I swear that's the last I'm going to do to just shower praise on Elder Scrolls, at least for the next 10, let's say 15 minutes. So
on Elder Scrolls, I had noticed as I was looking over the pre-gens that not a single other character has any healing whatsoever. Like of all, none of them have restorative.
No, there's actually a couple of them. Yeah,
but that are chosen.
Oh, that haven't selected yet. No, right. John has built a character that is going to be a resto character. But other than that, no one else has laid claim to them. I was going to ask
about John's. Yeah, because no one else has that or physician or the mundane profession.
Yeah. Survival, though, you can use survival. If you're trained in that game, if you're trained in survival, that also counts as a first aid.
But John, this is something that will happen to fix itself with the progressing of the campaign.
Self-correcting, yeah.
It's also not, we have had sessions in that particular game where we've had no healers in it. We've had 2 players, no healers, both were fucking effectively fighters. The game worked fine, They adapted the strategies to fight that way. I think it was you and Jeff Ingolf who were playing they're sitting in the shadows and sniping at people and trying to draw them in because they couldn't go out and face them directly because there were 2 spellcasters who would have caused really bad days for.
Yeah, I think it was Darren and me.
Was it Darren and you or was it Jeff and you?
Yes.
Yeah, we played a game together.
Oh, that's what. Yeah.
I think we went more for the charge in, take down the wizard.
There was someone else. It might have been Robert and Jeff who played the more.
I think it was Robert and Jeff who played exactly the same scenario, but totally different style.
Yeah, exact same characters, exact same dungeon, but a total different outcome from it because of the way that they approached the attacks. It was really cool. But in both cases, we had no healers in that whatsoever.
I'll be a little curious to, maybe not now, but I'll be a little curious to maybe find out a detail or two about John's character before selecting mine. Now that I hear that he is a restorative, because I was thinking, okay, well, if no one has healing, I think I'd better, better emphasize this.
He's playing basically a kung fu healer. He's like a no weapon, unarmed fighter healer.
Interesting
kind of character. Yeah, speaking of which, I gotta type up his character after this session. So I think that we've fulfilled our quota of Elder Scrolls talk. At least for the next hour. Let's talk about another game, actually, the Stars of Paridar thing. It's adventure. So what I'll tell you first is just from my perspective, I think that game or that adventure got stronger as we went along in it. I think we ended really on a high note with that, both in terms of the characters being something separate and apart, but recognizable as the same characters. But the reason that we ended up playing that was because we had a couple of really good Starfinder sessions before. I decided that the way I had been running Starfinder was a way that was leading me to not really like Starfinder all that much, and that if I approached it from a way that I approached other games that I ran, that I might have a better time with it. And I did have some fun with Starfinder beforehand, and then we got into the adventure, and I think that the footing, I don't know, that's how it felt from my perspective. By the time we got to the last two sessions, I think those last two sessions were really strong. A really fun fight with the Jubsanuth. I got to kill somebody. I mean, unfortunately, Igor fell afoul of a giant monster and got destroyed. And then there was that really cool... I really thought you guys were playing much more mercenary characters than what these ones were. And then there was that last moment in the penultimate session where Dr. Earthsprung's like, yeah, if we let them live, they're just going to do this all over again. And there was that slow realization across the party of yeah, we can't let them get away with this. But what did you guys? So what that was I think some of you guys, that was your first time playing Starfinder, and what was your feelings on the Stars of Paridar war story?
It was good. Yeah, it was interesting. Obviously, with the aspect that they were our character, the sci-fi version of our characters that we've been playing for years, which was funny. It was amusing, and interesting at the same time. Of what sci-fi mercenary Golag would be like. Kind of.
Yeah, and I guess context for those who may not be watching other campaigns on the channel, but one of the things we do in our Night Below campaign, we have an annual Star Wars game. So every May we take a break from our regular campaign, and the guys play Star Wars versions of their characters, and then we play that for a month or so, and then go back to the regular campaign. But this is the first time we've done something quite as dramatic in this campaign.
Yep. It was good, yeah, because especially being a spellcaster, it's a little bit. It is always a little challenging anytime. If you're going to play a one shot and you're going to play a spellcaster on a one shot, especially in a game if you're not familiar with it, that tends to be a heavy load. I mean, unless you've maybe got one spell. If it's a game where you tend to get one or two spells at the very beginning, then that's not too bad. I was just in a game like that with you, I think, Kevin. I can't remember what it was. We've been playing a few. Imperial Maledictum's not too bad. You start with 4
second powers.
Yeah, it's manageable. But if you get it where you've got a few pages, 2 or 3 pages of spells, and you don't know what they are, and it's a one shot or something, you're like, oof, I gotta figure these out right now, because inevitably you're in a scene and something happens, and then 10 minutes later you're like, oh, I should have used so and so. Well, Starfinder has the unfortunate thing where it does what some OGL based or D20 based games do, where they insist on renaming some of the spells. So the spells that you recognize and know, you're like, oh, it's the digital blah 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 blah, and you're like, do you mean fireball? Is this just a fucking fireball? Why not just
I get you're wanting to be thematic and whatnot, and yeah, there is some, differences, but if what it does is does damage to a whole bunch of people in one thing, maybe make that a little more clear in,
right.
Right. But I mean, the thing is, that's for, that really would only service the one shots. It does give it a thematic feel all its own that way. What were the rest of you guys? How were the versions of your characters? How was the experience of investigating something from a interstellar, perspective?
Well, from my point of view, the character, it definitely felt very similar in the way of, he was the doctor and the engineer and that. So that certainly translated really well across to the other system. I would always prefer Paridar just because we've been playing it so long and so used to it. I was quite surprised how different the system was. Mm-hmm. I was expecting Pathfinder in space, as in I thought it was going to be the same game with we call this a laser instead of a crossbow and whatever. So it was quite different. So that was quite strange to start with, especially just getting used to it. I don't know why. I just thought it was going to be so much more like. You
won't be wrong in about 10 months' time, because the new version of Starfinder 2nd Edition, is effectively Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but in space.
Yeah, and maybe that's because Pathfinder 2 is so popular and works so well.
Yeah.
I did find some of it, the rule side of it, just a little bit clunky, especially with some of the maneuvers in combat. I think we all come to the same conclusion. It's, well, why is grapples impossible to do? Basically, it's 20 plus 14 difficulty plus this plus, it's like, oh, right, I need to roll a 36 to grab this guy by the hand. I certainly prefer the Paridar, but it was a nice change. And the thing I did like about that particular scenario or little mission, whatever, was the suits. We're always in the suits. It was just, I'm not worried about dying. I'm worried about my suit getting ripped or damaged, because then I'm going to be infected with some horrible sort of plague, basically, and so you might as well be dead. Or that's sort of. That's what the fear factor was, damaging the suit rather than getting killed by whatever we were coming up against.
Starfinder has a really interesting history too, because it kind of, I think it was 2 years before PF2 came out, or before PF2 was announced. Is it 1 or 2 years, Ingolf? Do you remember?
I would say it was 2 years, and then there was 1 year of playtest, and then there was the final Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Yeah,
because the difficulty, the Starfinder definitely is its own thing. It wasn't, just Pathfinder 1. But a comparison I'd make is that between D&D 3.5 and D&D 4, we got Saga Edition Star Wars, and it's a neat sci-fi game that you can see elements of what would become 4th Edition in there, but it's not quite there. And I feel like Starfinder, I was expecting Starfinder to be kind of like that for PF2, and then PF2 was honestly way more like 4th edition D&D than I ever had thought, and I thought they were ever going to do, and it was very different from Starfinder, which is in some ways a little more complicated even than what Pathfinder 1 is, because of like the different hit points and some other elements of it, and a lot of the stuff that we saw in cleared up in PF2, where it was like, there's very, very, very few just math-based stuff. Like the pejorative for Pathfinder 1 was Mathfinder. And there's very few of those types of things in PF2. But there's a fuck ton of them in Starfinder. There's so many feats that are like, on a Tuesday when it's cloudy and you're wearing a hat, you get this bonus, and... it had the opportunity, like the core math of it is really rock solid in the same way that carried over to PF2 as well. But there's so many other little ways where they just, for whatever reason, just decided to have these extra bits of complexity to the game. that are. I tried to minimize them for your characters, just so you guys wouldn't have to be like, well, wait, is someone adjacent to so and so I can then make my attack at whatever, you know. But that is the space it occupied. It felt like they took one step towards a lot more complexity with that game, and then a year later, or 2 years later, when they started PF2, they're like, okay, this is just not going to work. We're not going to do another version of Pathfinder where it's overly complicated. We're stripping all that stuff out. So, what about you, James?
No, everything was said is there. It's funny though that you can have in these war stories, you can have this same character with something very similar with the same name, and yet feels completely different. I didn't feel that was Sally Dumer in Space. That was somebody else with the same name. And I know I'm not an immensely heavy character role player, but still, I've never felt that difference myself.
Maybe
Sally,
her sister?
Paridar Sally has her own objectives and interests, and Starfinder one was a completely different person doing the thing.
And was that because
it's just
of
an interesting feeling?
Well, why do you think that was? Was that because of her abilities, or because of the setup in the scenario, or?
No, just because Pathfinder Sally is Pathfinder Sally, and
that's
a different character.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't a mechanical thing.
It was neat hearing because Darren, you made reference to that when we were playing it too, about the differences between Starfinder Dr. Ursprung and Pathfinder Dr. Ursprung. And that was early on when we were playing them, but like I don't think this version of Dr. Ursprung thinks XYZ. You know,
I started out being a lot more sort of robotic sort of thinking, but I think the old Doctor came out at the end and he sort of went, "No, we can't let this happen," because I was trying to play him more mercenary, like you said, and I just couldn't do it. I just gave in at the end. But yeah, that's because he was more like a robot, wasn't he, almost?
It's a similar thing. It was, it was a custom race I was made up, but Sepulchroid was so similar to how Dr. Ursprung is a unique consciousness born from a bunch of different pieces. It was a robot that hosted a bunch of different consciousnesses that had been, mashed up.
It felt more, artificial. I know the Doctor's been put together, but it's put together from actual bits of people rather than, But I think the Doctor came through in the end.
What about you, Ingolf?
Yeah, I think that the setting was quite different. I think the Illuminators in Paridar, they are there for the city in a way. It's just the city is an important part of the setting, and it has its own story, like in urban fantasy. And I think we did this when we did this shorter war story on Akiton. This was more like there we have a place, and that place tells a story, but our characters are there by some chance. And same was with this Zenidar. It's not bad, but it's different. I think it was not like we didn't have this kind of home base where we always meet up and we have this kind of breakfast conversations and so on. So that felt completely different. In a way, this Starfinder version of Basil was much more like the warrior type, operative type, where you can do this striking damage, which is similar, but then not similar. So the operative does a lot of more harm relatively in one punch. So that was interesting. And so I would say, it feels differently, but I mean, on the other hand, it is a different setting. So that is okay for itself. Just like there is this, I don't know if you have these comic books, and there's the version where now everything is, I don't know, like you have Samurai Batman and you have this version of Batman and so on. So, and this kind of works, I suppose. I had no problem playing that, but it was very, I mean, in a way, Paridar is a dark and grim setting, but I don't know, somehow familiar, while this Zenidar was more like, come on, why exactly is anyone living here? Could you do? I mean, it's...
The adventure was a reskinned and then changed version of an adventure from one of the Stars Without Number products, and it was the Cyberpunk one, and I took that and then just twisted more sci-fi or science fantasy stuff into it, but it was also as a warm-up because Ingolf loves Shadowrun. I love Shadowrun, so I was like, I'm going to run a Starfinder version as a Shadowrun setting. One of the things that I love about Shadowrun is the cyberpunk element of it. I know folks say that if you want to play Cyberpunk or play, some other thing. I think you can get a plenty depressing world out of Cyberpunk, out of Shadowrun as well. And that's what I wanted to offer you, is a place of like, God damn it, like, fuck this place, fuck these people, fuck these corporations.
Yeah, and if you talk about sessions, I think there were quite a few sessions I really liked. So, I mean, this head trick was actually quite nice, and I really like that we did this heist, which actually worked. I mean, I still can't believe that this worked.
Yeah, it's neat. The thing with the, like, I get the purpose of the stamina points, and that served a really useful tool in our game about as a sort of a way of tracking the integrity of your suit. So that was pretty cool. But if I really wanted to, if I was wanting to have characters in peril at a point, if you guys didn't have that suit factor, not one of the fights you guys had got you down into hit point damage, I don't think. So even the things that were... It's interesting that I think maybe with more play, I'd have a better sense of like how to gauge difficulty of things, but I don't think I gave... I had a good handle. I enjoyed the Jubsanuth fight quite a bit, but the other fights... I feel like if I really wanted to put you guys in peril where your hit points are at risk with that game, I would have had to be running a gauntlet against you guys to get that stamina down, or just have an overwhelmingly difficult adversary. Because otherwise you can just take a quick, nap and a sandwich, and you guys are back with full stamina points, and then you're able to go into the next fight at effectively the same level. You're losing other resources like your, Golag spells, but pretty much otherwise you were able to then go into the next fight as the same, capacity as you were before.
Yeah. And I guess that is kind of true. I ran longer Starfinder campaigns. But I really liked, so we didn't play so much with healers. So, yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of dangerous. You always have your breath and your stamina points, but then if you're... you might spend resource points in the fight as well, and then you can't get back to life, because if you have no resource points, then this is unfortunately the end. So, I mean, it kind of worked, but it's like the old, and the same with Pathfinder First Edition. You have to have this kind of 3 or 4 fights in a row thing where you just...
Exactly, yeah. It's the thing I found with, honestly, it reminded me of one of the issues we ran into with mid-level. We played a 4th edition campaign that got up into the, like, high... I think when we called it, we were around 14th level. And by 14th level, you have to have filler fights in order to wear down resources of the players. So when you get to the boss fight, they're kind of walking wounded in a way, so they don't have access to absolutely everything. Because otherwise the game just breaks down, and I think that Starfinder probably is like that too, which isn't the case with this. With Pathfinder 2, I can absolutely create one fight and have you guys go in fresh, and it's plenty challenging, and there's plenty of ways for you guys to be like, dramatically changing. So
and we weren't understocked in a way. So normally characters in Starfinder tend to have too little money to buy the stuff they would have for their level. So you always you always try to catch up to the other ones who have always better equipment, and we didn't have that, so that's also a factor.
No, and that was fun in the last one too, because again, not to talk about Shadowrun again, but when I opened the door to be like, fuck it, take whatever kind of grenade you want for it, I could see Sean looking through and picking specific grenades for that stuff, and like that's the fun of that kind of like loot heavy game, is like, what cool shit can I grab to use in this thing, and that's something that PF2 doesn't do necessarily, but it's something for a game like Starfinder, and I think probably like Fallout, or like not so much Elder Scrolls in terms of getting access to a whole bunch of stuff, but Shadowrun, that's the stuff where you would, seeing players can grab whatever loot they want, no more grenades. I don't know, that was pretty funny.
Exactly. Let's grab all the cool stuff that I have to blow myself up with.
Yeah.
He's got such a knack for it. It's hard for me to pass up. I mean, you're gonna give me a whole box of them. I mean,
well, the neat thing too, the neat thing I think about that kind of game too, is it was cool when there was a moment. We obviously were not going to play it beyond the adventure because we were going to get back to regular Paridar, but it was neat seeing like, guys, I don't think we can leave this, like, we can't leave this fucking planet like this, can we? We collectively decided off camera to be like, okay, we're gonna leave that to fester, as it were, because we can't just spend the next 2 years in this campaign. But I think it says, while the game mechanics itself still, I think, are not. I had a better experience with Starfinder this time than I did with any other time I've run it. Not because of the players or anything like that, but just because of the way I chose to approach running it. And
I think, may I don't know. We had this one Halloween session where we did this horror kind of Starfinder thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that worked also very, very well. And I think, and I think also your Western thing worked well. I mean, it's just, I think sometimes what does not work so much is if you play dungeon crawling in space, and it's just a kind of weird. And some of the official adventures are like that.
Yeah.
So you play basically a dungeon crawl, but in some space station, and that is fun for 1 or 2 times. But then, why exactly are we in space?
Yeah, and which is a shame because like the setting itself is so interesting. Like it has in my one of the things I used to like about the Planescape setting was that anything I could think of in any permutation of D&D, I could put in this adventure, and you can go as wild as you want. Starfinder to me feels that way as well. It's got a different sensibility to it, so it's not quite as like mythic and whatnot, but the combination of magic and technology and the way and the conceit of the gap where the players just don't know, like you're constantly running into mystery and there's a whole galaxy full of things you could run into. It's a shame that maybe this is something to look forward to in 2nd edition, but it's a shame that the game as written has those stumbling parts where you have to run a gauntlet in order to adequately challenge the characters, and there's so much fiddliness to the to making characters and running characters, and some of the classes are like really inventive, but they're so niche and so unusual that it feels like, how is this a class? Like a class is supposed to be an archetype of these things, and you're like, so what class am I? I'm the guy who has nano blood. What? Like that's a pitch for a Monty Cook game character. Come on.
I think there's in the core books there's the envoy.
Yeah.
And the envoy is, I would say, almost useless. Because I mean, if you play this diplomatic kind of way, then it's the best character. But in a fight, you can't use him at all, other than to cheer others up. And it's like the Bard, but I mean, like a weak version of the Bard. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting too. The clearly, I didn't appreciate how much Paridar was a character in the context of the characters too, because I saved the reveal of Paridar until the very last minute of our game instead of incorporating Paridar in a more meaningful way. So that's an interesting thing I did not appreciate about the game too, or the campaign at least. So
yeah, I mean, it would be. I mean, we have our ship now, and basically, if we came back to the ship, maybe it would have felt a little bit different. But we were always stranded on this planet, and I was thinking, well, basically, we should get away. I mean, this is.
Boss, how is this paying? Like, we really need to get the fuck out of here.
I mean, boss would have been fine with that. Let's go. We got paying clients elsewhere.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Stars of Paridar war story? Nada.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add on that I think the sensibilities of Golag were different too. That was really all the same thing. All the different comments that have already been said apply to Golag too. That very, very, pretty different. The mercenary, even though they're both, for hire, the mercenary versus the very peculiar Paridar city, his father. It's a pretty well fleshed out situation for Golag in Paridar, whereas Golag in the Stars was more run and gun, more little flatter. I mean, after obviously Golag in Paridar has the advantage of another 40 sessions or something or whatever, but in the Stars it was a little more. It was far more straightforward, which is fine, but very different. Of just like
One of the neat things I find too about these is like the Night Below characters in our Star Wars one, Night with a K, Night Below, they are all very different from their their D&D counterparts as well too. Not only in like obviously one character's an elf and one is a Rhodian, but the way the players play them is also very different too. It ends up with a consistent different experience, like different consistent personality, but like the basically if Andrew was turned to stone and then subsequently abandoned because Andrew likes his pickup character more than he does his other character. But in our Star Wars one, he plays a Rhodian version of the elvish rogue that he plays, and Tanev, the elf character, is a very kind of, he's not really like very noisy or he doesn't have a strong personality presence in the campaign necessarily, whereas Tanev the Rhodian is this fucking smartass, very different kind of character. So it's interesting to hear that you guys had a similar experience figuring out how to play these characters and how they react with one another. It is consistent with this is our third year of doing the K, Night Below characters, and they feel like the players are returning to very different versions of characters, very different characters actually, separate and apart from their inspiration before. So that's neat.
Yeah.
So getting back to Spires of Paridar, have you guys any questions for one another over what we've done in the past year or more? Or any comments on moments of I know Darren has said before, both on camera and off, that how much he enjoys sometimes just watching the other players play.
Yeah. I was going to ask Sean or Golag. Is Golag changed his way of thinking slightly with regards to always getting paid and that being at the frontmost of his mind? Because I know the Doctor, no doubt, frustrates him quite a lot, because it's like, no, we've got to do this, we've got to help them, we've got to do this, and there's always, well, who's paying for this? And so is Golag starting to slightly change his way of thinking?
I would say that so Golag has he's juxtaposed between he's not his father. So his father, plants this kind of Pinkerton flag over here, and he doesn't want to be that, goes to such an extreme that it played a role in driving Golag to want to put out his own shingle, in addition to getting out from under his dad's huge shadow. So there's that. So that's in, that would be the complexities of Golag, I'm thinking, so that's in your favor, right? That the dad portrays this, well, you don't want to be your dad. Like, no, I don't want to be my dad. At the same time, then you have, how far does the apple fall from the tree? And this is what he was brought up under, and his dad's extremely successful, and he admires. There's no doubt his dad is a huge force, and so not everything about that is terrible. Like Golag's like that looks pretty good. Aspects of it look pretty good, of the admiration and power and the stuff like that. So. And not to mention, of course, obviously in a game, you don't actually handle the mechanics of mercantilism, but Golag's got a little bit of that.
I have bad news about season 3.
but Golag's got that that notion of everyone hates the payroll guy, the guy that's got to actually send out the checks. Everyone says, well, how come? That's because you don't have to make payroll every month. This kind of attitude of like, sure, the workers wonder why we can't have this and this. Well, that's because money is a question. That kind of an attitude of like, when your check doesn't come, we'll see how you feel about these subjects, that kind of a
quick question to Basil and to Adam. When was the last time you got paid?
It's direct deposit. It just goes boop. It's just
So, interestingly, my character still, I only lost money since we were running the campaign. I never got any gold coins. But I never had to pay anything other than tipping off some guys somewhere. But yeah,
it's because your expenses, Sally. Your expenses just they just suck up all the it's in and out. You don't even see it. It just goes right to the credit cards.
We flash back to when he's having it installed. He's like, "You're sure you just wanted to make a beep sound?" And Golag's like, "Yeah, no, that sounds good."
I have a feeling at 1848 it's going to arrive in Paridar soon.
I think at some point we will discover this huge vault which is behind or below Golag's house, which we never knew about before.
A lot of portraits in there.
It's full of mirrors and
portraits.
Yeah. I think I would add also, I am as a player, I'm extremely curious about what is going on with Golag, and I think we need to explore that more. But so there is this thing where he is distracted up to a point, and he doesn't know what he's done for days. And so,
Golag's bingers just reappears.
Oh my god, I can't spell vivisection. Sorry. two times at bat, that's enough.
Yeah.
We'll just go for autopsy then.
And then, this is why Golag's going to deflect. Then every time we talk about having like internal meetings, it gets into vivisections, and so Golag's like, okay, that's
It's hard to get good stuff. Jeez.
No, but really, I think all of our characters had some, and you had. There is this arc with Golag's father, okay, but the other thing is much more interesting. Why does this woman have made your pictures, and what is this all about? And so there's something going on, and I think we should really have some mystery around that. But
I can assure you that Golag certainly has not had any dreams of viscerally holding, a Conan-esque sword standing atop a ziggurat, grasping a scantily clad female and cutting back hordes of attacking enemies. He definitely has not had that dream.
Don't be silly.
No, that would not have happened.
Too busy. I'm too busy.
Yeah, that is Planet Frazetta, I think.
With payroll. I'm too busy with payroll.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other questions for your fellow Illuminators?
I'm going to ask another one then.
Oh,
Basil,
Yeah.
what is going to happen with the Whiskers network? Are you trying to avoid them, use them, or take them down?
Yeah, I think I need to get in somehow. So at one point, I think I thought that Basil would have this idea. Well, they can't be that great, so I can just use them to my advantage. But then again, I mean, no, I'm pretty sure that there's another thing down there, and I want to know why it exists in the first place. I mean, maybe the rats are ruling the city and you just don't know. I mean, that would be at least a plausible thing, wouldn't it?
There's rats everywhere. There's one within, what is it, every 5 meters or something? Amongst the city.
Yeah. No, so and then yeah, I would try and I wanted to get deeper into this kind of organization, but there was always the case to be followed, and then I'm more anxious about what the other people are using to bring doom and havoc to the world.
Yeah, I think it's lucky that Kevin steers us at least to a title to start the session, because otherwise we'd be just going around in circles, because there's always 4, 5, 6 things that we'd probably want to be doing, whether it be the Whisker Network, the Golag's portraits, Sally's sort of, I don't know, whatever that is, doom and gloom, potential coming to take over Paridar.
Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking about this I don't know, brother something who was burning down these quarters where he found heresy and this was basically some kind of housing scam in a way. So it was like, and I think that we encountered that with this Ministry of Defense as well. There seems to be like, I don't know, shouldn't compare to real world countries, but some kind of organized criminals and the administration are not different people. I mean, this is run by the mob in a way. So this is interesting.
Nothing but subtlety in my works. Hold on, are you saying that capitalists are the bad guys? Oh, jeez. What? Any other questions for your fellow Illuminators?
So, what does Sally want to do about this prophecy?
Sally's going to have to talk to someone over the next 2 weeks to try and figure out what the hell the story is anyway, because she's forgotten it all. So she's going to have to offline find that out. Then I'll come back to you on that point.
Yeah, basically you are prophesied to be the harbinger of doom or something like that.
What, in the game?
Yes.
Right.
Your character is just like I don't know, like the one in the Omen or so. Yeah, you will.
Oh yeah, that's normally me at work. Okay, then. Well, we're going to have to sort that one out. We can't be having with the end of the world.
Yeah. It's not before Tuesday.
I can't be doing with that sort of attitude.
Mm. Anyone else? Nada? Have you any questions for me then? We've touched on a lot of aspects of this campaign already.
Yeah, I mean, it's you don't like to ask questions because you don't want spoilers, almost.
No, and I definitely wouldn't talk about
the thing, obviously, with regards to what's coming up or what's next, or. But has it changed the way that you've prepared over the years, or has it been pretty?
No, I'll tell you. I've said that about this campaign. One of the things I didn't want to interrupt, but one of the things he said that was really instructive for other ongoing campaigns is I've thought of this campaign from the get-go. I keep talking about Murder, She Wrote every time I talk about this campaign, but I think of it that way, but with a more modern seasonal kind of component where you're writing. One of the ways that's helpful to think of it that way is that, well, I guess first off, like writing for TV, writing for film, writing whatever is a different, completely setting aside the, like, you know, you're not writing dialogue and whatnot too. It's a game, and so it always needs to be approached from writing it like it's a game you're playing, not like there's a story that the players need to go through and there's a clear steps they need to hit and a clear ending to it. But what is helpful for thinking of things in the seasonal structure is how you're going to move those small plots forward and how you're going to keep people focused and busy at the time. We have in our Night Below campaign, it's truly a sandbox. The players choose where to go and what to do and whatnot. This one, oh, there are rules for kaiju in the Monsters of Legend book. I have rules for kaiju, so do not worry about that. Gojira is coming. But the thing that is really this game remains the closest to how I traditionally write campaigns, where I'll have long-term things that are introduced and touched on and advance over the course of the, you know, more focused, clear, like this is what the adventure is about kind of stuff. That hasn't changed. The thing I think I let that last one be. I knew we were going in, and it was more about rather than having kind of a clear, like, you're going to go here and get information, and they're going to have the clues within a session or two, and then you're going to have, you know, be able to reveal the perpetrator. That one was a lot more of you guys having to kind of sandbox around in the setting of Dag on the Sea, figure out what the hell was actually going on, and then make a decision of what you want to do. And that I really enjoyed that. Like it took us 6 months to play through that you know, that particular story, but it was awesome seeing you guys piece that stuff together, and you know, and then once you had everything in context, figure out what you wanted to do about it. That's really, because you had the name of the party responsible for the loss of the Blackwall, but I didn't see any. I don't remember anybody saying, "Okay, we should maybe just leave and then cash in on this and leave it to the military to deal with this." You guys seem to want to deal with, you know, the threats yourselves. Maybe that was because there were people who you came to know and care about who were at risk there. But yeah. So I mean, to answer it, this was a longer adventure, and the structure of that one was a little different than some of the other more. Actually, it really wasn't. It was just that it was a bigger canvas you guys were playing on. There were more things to learn. There was more things to uncover. There were still some, you know, set piece fights that we had. I really liked using the battle mat for that one, for the set piece on the boat.
Oh yeah.
I think that because we do a lot of the other fights we have in this game, we tend to do theater of the mind, and that works just fine, you know. But I did really enjoy having. There is something visceral about having that many fucking tokens on the table, where you're like, God damn it, and trying to deal with all of them. You can tell people there's 100 people, you know, 100 things or dozens of things coming at you. It's a different thing when you see it on the battle mat of all these things coming at you, you know?
Yeah.
So no, I haven't really changed. I think that like what I'll do, just like I did in the second season, is I'm gonna play with the tempo of the things too. So we might see a shorter adventure, or we might see two things happening at the same time, or whatnot. But the fact that there is a structure of the mysteries to them, I think, is a good way of pacing the flow of the overall campaign, so you can feel like the players are actually achieving something while leaving some stuff undiscovered. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
I don't have kind of a question. I'm more like a remark. I still think, and I said I think I said this last time as well. I think it's still the perfect thing, like one of those evening series where you have this kind of local story, and then you have the overall progression and the overall things going on. And so far we just struck the perfect mix of all of these things, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And that is what makes it great, because it feels somehow alive and not like when you are playing an adventure path, there's something like a final destination where you want to go, and I don't see this destination. It's more like when you play a traveler campaign, you always try to build up your base or your ship or whatever. So it's more like from the ground up, you find out where to go. And I think we found the perfect mix of having a short-term goal and then this long-term open-ended thing where it just evolves somehow. Mm-hmm.
And that's closer to how, like, this is the kind of ideal campaign for my own sensibilities and my own, like, attention span. I really much prefer approaching a campaign where I'm writing to the session, to the campaign, with an eye to the, the long term. And it's funny, we did our year in review of Rogue Trader recently that James and Sean play in, and I didn't appreciate how much the players enjoyed their characters. And one of the things I realized after the fact, I was enjoying that game, but I really didn't have an idea where things were going with it. I took an evening and just sat with all my 40k RPG books and just like churned and until I had a clear idea of what an arc going forward would be, so that I can now tease out my little smaller things and move things along in that campaign. And that's very much the structure that we have in this game. Is I now know what's going on in my mind in the world, and we'll see how that reacts to what the players do and the different characters we have. That campaign is also very different from this one, where we've already played 3 different RPGs, all 40k RPGs with 3 different groups of characters, but it's all playing towards the same story. It's all members of the same house and whatnot, so it's got a different structure, but that is falling into the model that this particular one does. So again, this one proves to be a really instructive campaign for me, for my own sensibilities. It also, for the GM's perspective, when I don't know where it's going to end up, that's much more interesting. It's a lot more interesting to see what the players are doing and how things play out, and then writing from there. That is just the way I like running games and like writing games, because to me it feels more interesting. I've got more, there's more creative input I can have in setting up the things in the direction that I want them to go. But not knowing what the outcome is, that's to me what keeps me invested in the long term of a campaign like this. And you're also much more able to be like, a year into the campaign, be like, you know what, I want to shake things up. And because you have that idea of what at least the overall thing is, but it's not set in stone, you're not going to ruin your game by introducing, strange things or shaking things up otherwise to make it interesting for you.
Yeah, you mean when there comes a clan invasion of some lost tribes?
Exactly. Well, I can use the example. The last time, one of the times I tried running I was running, the Tyranny of Dragons game, and we got to Baldur's Gate in it, and I'm just like, God, this fucking campaign is so boring. And I almost unleashed an undead horde. And it wasn't because the players were doing anything wrong, it's just I wasn't interested in the overall arc because I knew how long it would take before we got to something I was really going to be interested in. And I was like, they haven't reintroduced Miracle yet, so maybe we can just reintroduce the God of the Dead and have a zombie apocalypse in the Forgotten Realms. And that's sort of where we were going in that direction before scheduling had that one fall apart. But I never felt, because of this campaign's got more fluid overall structure to it, I'm never feeling like, God, I just want to be at X because that's where the interesting stuff's going to happen, and I feel the need to fill shit up in the interim, or I need to keep myself occupied. Like our Kingmaker campaign played 14 months worth of gameplay or something like that, where we did not actually play the adventure because I wasn't interested in starting the adventure off the way that they had it, so for the... I haven't changed the structure in this one because probably that's what keeps my long-term interest in these campaigns. I'm not sabotaging it because there's a roadmap that I'm like, fuck you, too. So. THX has a question of how do you keep all the balls juggling while working a day job. The day job informs a lot of this stuff. My whole day job is to focus exclusively on whatever is in front of me and give it my full attention, and then as soon as it's off my plate, not think about it because I have to think about the next thing. So to be honest, it kind of feeds back in that way. When I'm working on whatever that is one thing is that my notes are kind of scattered and I have, they're not extremely detailed, but they work for me. When I know I'm going to work on the campaign that I want to work on, I'm working on that campaign. I'm doing something that is going to be useful for running the campaign, and then once that's done, I go on to the next thing. That is just the, it's honestly the way I've always been. It turns out that works well for the day job aspect and for managing these campaigns. When I need to think about Paridar, I'm thinking about Paridar. This weekend, I did not have to do any work on this campaign because I knew we weren't running a game. We were doing our retrospective. So last night, I did some work on Imperium Maledictum and Warhammer Fantasy and what was the other one I worked on last night? Shadowrun, which is not a campaign yet. But
yes. Yeah, well, it is. I think it is.
I'm 5 for 5 so far, setting up campaigns with setting up one shots that set up like, boy, this would be a good way to launch a campaign. I'm going to try and hit every one of our charity sessions to be like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't, and maybe you shouldn't. But I think that, it speaks volumes that each session is like that, and that's maybe not something that everyone would be able to pull off.
Well, I owe it to you guys because that's you guys for those sessions at least. People donated actual fucking money to support the charity for that stuff, so I want to make sure you're getting your value out of it. Man, there's no better way to have that that satisfying play experience that stays with you is if it's like, boy, it'd be really neat to revisit those characters, whether that's in our Dragon Age game or our Shadowrun game or Godbound or whatever the hell we end up playing, And
I think that's another thing of praise you have to accept now. I think you have a great hand for doing really interesting pre-gens. So in all the games we played, I never had the feeling that even this Ravager character in Elder Scrolls 2, which is like the dumb, stupid warrior. Even that character is somehow interesting in itself, and that is quite cool, actually. I mean, none of us did had anything in this character other than leveling them up, okay, but we are basically staying in the path you made for the character in the beginning. We did not evolve into something totally different.
No, and I think that's a lesson for me as well. Never ever let your players make their own characters.
Yeah, I don't know. That Sebastian, the Jem'Hadar, he's going to be awesome. Especially my SETI eel pet. Oh my goodness, that character is going to be truly vaporized within seconds of arrival at the table, I imagine, and rightfully so. That's, but it's also, I mean, not to push it back to you guys, but this is where the players really, having, you can, set kind of characters who have sort of a, not a momentum necessarily, but like there's something to be done with them, and because we're fortunate to play with so many great players that's just, you guys do that, right? Like, sort of what to do with the tools that you're given, and these characters have had no life to them whatsoever until you guys came in. And as an example of it, I think Deep Sally was the original name I gave to Sally Dumer, and James rightfully had the sensibility like, no, she is cultured, so Sally Dumer, went in that direction. And the particular personalities that each of you guys came up with for these characters, every one of these, without asking what we think the characters would do, the other players, or without having the player tell us what the character would do, I think a lot of us can already guess, because of how you guys have played them, how those characters will respond. And that gives everyone else something so much to play off of. It just makes this, gaming is a team a team activity. And that's what gives your other teammates great shit to work with and great shit to play off of. The Mutt and Jeff kind of, two investigator stuff that started on the train with Dr. Ersprung and Basil is great. The constant hectoring of Golag about his, pomposity as the employer is great. And that comes from not the performances, but like the personalities that you guys have injected into each of these characters. So I will accept the praise. I'm glad that the pre-gens give you guys great stuff to start from, but the characters we see in these campaigns, and any of the campaigns where there's been this stuff, it's on account of what you guys inject into them. And that's something that, again, not to pick on any, would-be Cardassian Starfleet members, but that is something that is not appreciated by everyone who plays these games, is that this is a team activity. Everybody needs to be cheering for everybody else in this. If for no other reason, because I'm going to fuck up the math and try and kill you guys with an encounter at some point. So...
Yeah, but still, I mean, I've been in campaigns where there was always talk about the fighter or the elf, and those were just not characters; these were roles in a group. And I don't think we have roles. I mean, somehow we have, but these are also in some weird way fictitious persons, and they have their own lives, and it shows besides a certain role in the game.
Well, the reason I put it back on it, because I can think of, it's a similar, the closest comparator to this particular campaign is our Traveler campaign. Traveler campaign are life path created characters, and there is a similar sensibility of like, I know who these characters are, I know how they might react to things, and that is from the players, not from, the pre-gens. So I'm glad. I love making pre-gens because it helps to set up dynamics and shit like that, and to balance things and whatnot, and make sure you don't get, problematic characters showing at the table of like, how the fuck is this? Why is this person here? But it's the collaborative environment you guys have for playing these characters is great. And also knowing that I'm always on your side, even when I'm throwing owlbears at you. It was a joke I was going to make earlier, is that the one time where I really felt bad about owlbears was when I nearly killed the entire party in Kingmaker with an owlbear.
Almost everyone close to that.
That was one. I didn't put my thumb on the scale in terms of the math, but suddenly someone had a healing potion that they didn't have in their character sheet that was an NPC, because otherwise that campaign was going to be over. Oh my goodness. So THX, I hope that's thank you very, very much. Yeah, in terms of that, it just, it's the way I don't know. I work. It's just that when I'm working on whatever I'm working on, that's what I'm working on. It
does seem to like dovetail well for you in that, like your ability to digest documents, books is a real boon, where you'll buy a book and you'll be talking about it 2 days later, like, oh, that CRB looks solid. And, and it'll be like 300 pages. And I'm like, dude, that's on my shelf. I'm not even
stuff,
thinking
right?
about that.
But it also feeds back, right? Like there's a lot of stuff I've said before in the channel or perhaps in the podcast when I did that. Like the stuff that makes me suitable for my day job is stuff also that a lot of stuff I learned from gaming, right? Yeah. Like there's a lot of similar like skill crossover between what you need to be effective as a GM and what you need effective to be as a lawyer. So yeah. but yeah,
because how many times is you and me in particular, James, of like just the laments of the lists. Like I have like, it's comical really, I mean, I just take it for what it is, but I make, I think about gaming more. Well, I do more than my fair share of gaming, so no complaints about that. But as far as running games, like I make more lists of games to play or to run than I run games. Like I just make more lists, I think about running them.
But the difference is that Kevin reads the books and I just stroke them.
right, totally. Yeah, I buy them. I'm just going to say I buy them instead of running them. I just buy them. That's what I do.
Again, like, come on. Yeah. This is a problem I share as well. I'm fortunate that we've got a lot of folks who want to, who are willing to jump in and give other games a try. The other thing I'd mention too is that, like, look, there's also, there's times where things just don't work out, right? Like there are, because it's easy to look at stuff and be like, oh, there's just this ongoing campaign and whatnot, and like in the ashes of every ongoing campaign, there's stuff that just didn't work. And there's sessions where you didn't feel that, went the way that you had intended and whatnot. And what my perspective on it is like you can't undo shit. So it's just a matter of like learn and do different next time, and part of that is getting inured to when sessions just don't work out. That's just going to happen. The saying is, not to be too Albertan here, is you get back on the horse that bucked you. If you had a bad session, if you had a bad experience with a thing, fucking get back to it right as soon as you can, because as soon as you get back onto it, you're going to try and learn from whatever happened before and hopefully have a better experience.
And I think that's the other. I mean, I would say two things. Like, I think your ability to digest information, but also just the practice. The confidence that one. By the time you can tell when someone's whatever the activity in work or anything else, that if someone's done it hundreds of times, no matter what happens, you're like, whatever. Don't worry about it. We're gonna do this, and this. It'll be fine. And that's the guy you hire for the job. You're like, yep, that's what we need, right? Well,
and it's another thing, not to go back to the day job once again, but it's another one of those things where there are certain skills that you only improve by doing.
Totally.
You don't become a better oral advocate by reading a lot of stuff. You fucking get out there and you do stuff, and that's something to say, like for the GMs who have those like white whales or whatever other things they're struggling to get to the table, like just fucking do it, get it to the table, have all those mistakes go, but there's going to be stuff that is great about those sessions as well. And you just build on those things. This campaign, again, like this not to thematically tie it back in, this came from no plans, right? Like this original campaign was like, well, fuck, I can't go home for the holidays. So what am I going to do? Like, all right, let's just see if anybody wants to play this stuff. So, this campaign is lemons out of lemon or lemonade out of lemons writ large. And you just, keep on it. These games are escapism, and if you treat it as that, I think, and allow yourself to fuck up stuff or to have stuff not go the way that you intended, you just keep going.
Yep. Yeah, and also to contradict you, know when to stop. So there is a thing that I did. Sometimes when things weren't working out the way I wanted or the other ones wanted, we kept on going too long and just say, no, well, it's okay, we do something different. Yeah. and knowing this and then having the I don't know, the confidence to say, okay, it will work with something else, or we'll try something else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something you have to learn as well, and I think
Absolutely.
Not that I've ever forgiven Kevin for stopping the Dracula dossier using cult. I have never forgiven him for cutting that.
yeah, and this was also very fun to watch, and so yeah, I support your blame.
I mean, like, what are the chances? Because Kevin, like, I'll make this brief, but that Kevin goes, I was thinking like Dracula dossier using cult, and I'm like, what? Because that is so niche and so niche, like on my list. I'm like, what are the chances? And so Kevin starts running it. I'm like, yes, and then he's like, yeah, we're done with this. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. I've got one word for you: Death Watch. One bloody game, and then he buggers off.
Yeah, it's with those ones. So with the certain campaigns, the Dracula dossier one is a one where, like, due to circumstances, things just didn't work out.
No, I know.
And ditto for the Kingmaker campaign. Like I think that the thing that was the real problem with that one was the scheduling. The scheduling was just the type of campaign we were running, the game we were using. There was we had course corrected for Pathfinder 2. To something that I think would fit better with the group and the players, and the scheduling was just not going to work out. And rather than having that as a continual frustration, we're trying something new now. And that any campaign that has stalled out on the channel, some of them are just like we know that we don't have players anymore. But like Engo, if you're absolutely right, like there's something really to know when, like, you know what, I think that this is. Whether that's because of an internal thing as the GM who's just lost interest in it, or the scheduling is just a continuing issue, or players are not as satisfied with it. Although that's fortunately, knock wood, I've yet to run into that. I haven't had anyone who's been like, fuck this game, I'm not playing it anymore. It's more a matter of, like, scheduling is making it untenable to be able to run this campaign.
I think that's also something. I mean, we may be not absolutely old, but relatively we are maybe.
My back would disagree. We are very fucking old.
Yeah, okay, so whatever.
My lumbar pillow will confirm that.
No, but for us to come together every other week and playing together regularly is amazing, because I mean, it's not like this is on the weekend. It's not like we're doing this, I don't know, like a sports club or whatever, where you go every Tuesday. This is rare in a way. I mean,
yeah,
to be able to carve out the time.
Well, that's part of the teamwork stuff too. Is like showing up consistently for players is such an important part of being able to build on stuff. Like, you can't. Don't get me wrong, I've loved our, like, whenever we get a chance to do a one-shot or whatnot, I'm happy to do that too, but I really do, my natural environment is an ongoing campaign, like I really, really love running that kind of thing, and the consistency of players being able to make the sessions, and there's all sorts of reasons why people can't make it. That's the thing that makes this kind of campaign possible, is because I know that the players are going to be there. I know I'm going to have something ready for them to play. That's what gives you these long legs of campaigns like this one, like Night Below, like I mean, Legacy of the Crystal Shard was that way for a really long time until we, Mo passing away was really the thing that put the nail in that campaign. It was very difficult to think about going back to that particular setting when Mo had cast such a huge shadow over that particular campaign. So, that's not to be sorry, guys. More of it about when I was setting up the 2-year retrospective thing, I opened up the PDF file I have for this thumbnail, and I was reminded that Mo was the thing.
Yeah,
I think this might have been
sessions,
Mo's session in this might have been the last time he played with us too.
I guess. Yeah. I think he told that he would be in hospital next day or something, or next week. Yeah,
and then he just Mo was not able to get out. So, I'm telling him, Anna. Who's Anna yelling at? But that's again, like it's everybody bringing their part to the table. That's the thing that makes this kind of campaign possible. And and so enjoyable to run too. Like, it is such a fucking fun thing for these kind of games too. Like, when you're running your own stuff too, like there may be the thought like, oh, it's so much extra work on top of that. I find it's so much easier to do this stuff because you do that work at the outset of the adventure, and then it's just course correcting at the start of each session. You know, that is so much easier than trying to remember the whole length of a pre-written adventure and making sure that you don't deviate from it too much to fuck up the ending. Which is to say, when I've done every time I've tried to run an ongoing thing. That Cult Dracula dossier, that is still on the wish, not the wish list, but the the to-do list. Dracula dossier is such a good thing, and I've yet to find a game, although Outgunned, I think Outgunned has some stuff. Outgunned has got a shorter lifespan for the characters, I think, in it, but Outgunned
mean using Outgunned for NBA?
Yes, in place of NBA for...
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought about that too. Yeah. Well, and it's got the book. It's got the, what's it called? The supplement. That
the Vampire,
Action
Flix.
Action Flix.
Yeah.
Because Action Flix has a Blade-looking, you've seen that. So I saw that Blade section. I'm like, NBA.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm not sure it's gritty enough. I had that doubt whether it's gritty enough.
I think I would. It would be more. It would be much more action, Jason Bourne than horror. Yeah, and I definitely like my horror stuff. You know what we clearly need to run with is GURPS, where you could genuinely get murdered by a kitchen knife. So any last closing thoughts on Paridar? What has happened? What is to come? What you fear? What you dream?
We haven't played. Let's see. I haven't played whatever. I'm not really sure about the January. So I haven't. I'll pretend like I wasn't in that. So, gosh, it's been like 6 months ish that I've played Paridar. So I'm looking forward to re-Paridaring. I've had a break. It's like spring break, long spring break, and ready to get back in. Yeah.
We've had almost an equally long break from PF2 as well, because we stopped running Kingmaker with PF2. I want to say like February. So it's been enough time away from that. So I'm looking forward to getting back to PF2. James, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, I wasn't. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in the remastered Investigator, because they're changing the class a little bit. So let's see how this works now, because they felt, if I understood correctly, that it was a little bit too niche. It is for this campaign. It's pretty spot on, but I'm interested in maybe we can change a feat or so. Let's see.
Yeah, with the way I'm approaching the whatever the new remastered. What is it called?
Core book 2 or something like that.
What are they calling the revision? The revision that's not a revision. Is it
remastered?
Remastered. Oh, I had it right the first time. Okay. The remastered stuff is we can take or leave. So like, you guys are free to, because there is a new version of the Witch. I don't know what's changed, but there is a new version of the Witch in Player Core 1, and I don't think the monk changed, but I really don't know. The Adventurer is not going to see a change, I don't think, for any foreseeable future, but the Investigator is coming in Player 2, which I think is like August, isn't it? July.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's not too long from now. So, awesome. Any other closing thoughts on Paridar, your characters, your adversaries?
Yeah, I just don't know what I'm doing with this Henri character. I just don't know. Weird. And I also want to know what's going on with Golek's lady there. So he has to find out.
A secret paramour. A scary one.
Yeah, and also, we always try to ship Sally with someone, and this doesn't work out. So maybe there is something to be found there.
Yeah, she has had the interest of at least 2 different...
Yeah, we have this Jane Austen type of vibe around Sally. And...
I know that James is really not a Jane Austen fan in any way. So... Got to know your audience. So
They were neither of them Sally's type.
yeah.
Yeah, so what is Sally's type? We need to find out. I mean,
A lady does not say. and kills anyone who suggests.
Awesome. Then if there's nothing else, guys, I think we'll wrap up our 2-year retrospective. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks very much for THX. Thanks very much for the question as well. We'll be back under the spires of Paridar to truly return to the city that I'd say never sleeps, but that really isn't the case. It's not New York. We'll be back to the soot and sorcery-filled streets of Paridar in 2 weeks' time. But until then, we hope that well, first off, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. There is also a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have a channel dedicated to the Spires of Paridar, as well as most of the games we run on the channel, including PF2 in general. And yeah, there's, in addition to that, there's also for Find a Group channel, there's a GM discussion. There's a really great community that has built up over the years over there, and you are more than welcome to join us. There's also a link down below to our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the preeminent unionized retailer of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs in North America. Not only do they have a great selection of new role-playing games, board games, and card games, they have an unmatched selection of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs. I swear, Sundays, the Anna Banana knows it. She came racing in underneath my legs. She knows when the outro comes in Sunday. Hey, thank you, my co-host. If they do not have something in stock that is in their extensive catalog, you can put it on a want list, and they'll send you an email when it comes in. And if you make a purchase of $10 or more through their website, be sure to enter the code. What is it right now? Musernight. All caps, all one word. It's in the description of the video down there, and you'll save yourself 10% on your purchase. If it is you're listening to this after June 30th, 2024, come back to one of our more recent videos, and you will find what the current discount code is there. There is also a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages. That is the charity fundraising campaign that we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really incredible organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children. You can learn all about their activities by following that link, and any donations through there go directly to them. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. It just goes to benefit the kids who benefit from their services, and as a small way of saying thank you. Next weekend, we'll be playing 2 charity sessions of Star Wars, and it has been the donors. If you have donated $25 or more since January 1st, you still have a few hours to make a donation and then vote at the Charity Initiatives channel on the Dungeon Musings Discord server on what RPGs we'll be using for those 2 sessions. Right now, we have the West End Games Classic and the Fantasy Flight Games Narrative Dice games as the leaders, but you still can vote on that. Donors have voted on all the other aspects of those sessions. And then after that, for the second half of the year, starting in late July, donors will be having an opportunity to vote on the charity sessions that we'll be running for the second half of the year. So again, all donations through that link go directly to them. None of it goes to the channel. You just go to help out the kids who benefit from their services. The last thing I will say is an enormous thank you to our stalwart illuminators. So Sean, James, Ingolf, and Darren. Once again, I came into this thinking like, boy, are we really going to fill up 3 hours of us chatting about this campaign? And what a fool I was for doubting. So thank you very much for playing today and load these past 2.5 years, give or take. So this has been a shit ton of fun. As is always the case, I am so sorry for what's going to happen next. So we'll be back under the Spires of Paridar in 2 weeks' time. But until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that our stalwart illuminators have uncovered and defeated, both in the city of Paridar, in its outskirts, and on the plagued planet of Xenides. And until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.